Howdy sports fans, this is Patrick Lujan with another edition of Sports Speak. We have none other than the brand new PXC Bantamweight champion, Trev Jones. Congratulations on your championship. That's a job well done. We spoke several months ago, and you've always had that ambition and that drive and that goal. How does it feel to finally win the belt?
Oh, man, it's still sinking in. It gets more sunken in every day. But, I got the belt, but I still got some more goals after this. So the road, I'm just going to keep pushing and keep working for more.
So it was the trilogy with you and Kyle Uggan. Both of you had won individual fights prior to this, and this was the tiebreaker. How much of that played into a part, not only having the title on the line, but also having the tiebreaker on the line as well?
It was a good camp. I started out really strong. I think maybe like 4 weeks out from the fight, I was in the best shape ever, and I actually popped my knee. Then I ended up taking maybe like 2.5 weeks off to let the knee heal. And then my cardio was so good that I was still able to have cardio to come back into it. So when I popped my knee, I started to get a little worried because Kyle's tough. He's always tough. I knew he was going to be durable. But at the end, I started picking it up again. In the last 2 weeks, I was able to wrestle. I was able to sprint hard, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for this fight. So, I knew that there was a big fight, and I just knew that I was going to go all the rounds if it needed and just keep pushing, never stop.
So there's a lot of, you went 5 rounds with Kyle. There's some people that felt that Kyle had won. I mean, it was a close fight with a split decision. Well, in your heart, when that last bell rang on the 5th round, how did you feel with your performance?
When the bell rang, I knew I won the fight. Like, I watched it again, too, after. Like, maybe just yesterday was my first time watching it again, and I actually think I won the last 4 rounds. I think he controlled me on the first. I started off slow, and he was really driving for the takedown. Like, he was giving everything on it. And I'm like, okay, I fought like this before. This guy will get tired. Don't even trip. So I just stayed calm. The first round ended. He came out the same way. I knew I'll start stuffing it harder. I knew he'll get tired. There's no way you can fight 5 rounds like that unless you're mixing it up on your feet up top and then putting it back, but not all the rounds like that. So I knew he'll get tired, and I just knew that my defense will get better and better. And actually, it went just like training because I hurt my knee. So I couldn't defend so well. So the guys, by the time they take me down, they were just pounding on me in the training, and I was having a hard time. That's why I was getting frustrated. So by the time that last week came and I was actually able to wrestle and get up off my back, my confidence shot back up to the sky.
All right, so you were really, really going after this belt for quite some time, a couple of years. You're always calling out the champion, whoever the champion was at that time. Now the target's on your back, young man. How are you going to... What's your vision on that, and to sustain that, to hold the title, and to remain the champion for quite some time?
I think it's perfect that I'm the champion because I think I fought all of the guys that's in the division already. Like, all the names that were after me and the names that was after the person after me, like, I beat them all already. So I think if I was going to defend my belt against someone like Mark Abelardo or someone that was good, it was going to be someone that I actually faced and beat already. So it would have still been a tough fight, but, I know I can get it done, and the drive is even more that I got the belt now, so I'm going to be even better than I was yesterday. I'm just ready forever, man. As a Filipino guy that I saw, he beat Mark, he could be next, If that fight's going to go down, I'll be ready for that fight by February. I want to defend around like February, mid-February.
Okay, so that's your short-term goals, is to defend the belt, but obviously a lot of the fighters, their ultimate goal is to make the UFC. But, there's other promotions out there other than the UFC. We've got some connections with Bellator, right? And Baby Joe's there, and Rich Chu is the matchmaker there. We have one championship, with Brandon Vera there, and we've got connections on that side. What realistically do you see, and are all of those options for you?
I'm going for the best one for me, man. Right now, I think the UFC is best for me, like my personality, the way I act, maybe like an Ultimate Fighter or something to get the way in. That'll be the way I will want to get in, winning that. That'll be awesome. But if, someone gets hurt or something late like that and they want to call me up or call Ken or contact the PXC, that'll be great too, I know I'm tough, man. I've trained with UFC fighters out there in Vegas, Minnesota, California, all of it, man, and everything they say is, man, your potential's good, you're ready, and these are usually 55ers, 45ers, and actually I'm a big 35 because all the 45ers that I train with out there, I'm the same size as them or bigger, they're never bigger than me, so I know I cut a lot of weight, and it's hard work. So if whatever happens for me, I'm just happy with it. But of course, I want to go to the UFC. That's the ultimate place where everyone wants to be, and when everyone pays more.
Okay, and lastly, Trev, the whole history with you and Kyle again. You had some bad blood going on for quite some time, but in this fight, it looks like there was a lot of mutual respect. You guys touched gloves before every round. You guys hugged each other before the fifth round. It's all of that bad blood behind you guys, and is it man respect now?
Oh yeah, there was never any like real bad blood. It's I think it was I won the first fight, and like Kyle was a little bitter about it. So he like, when it came down to the second fight, like I didn't know like this guy's like bad blood, mad about me. I didn't know nothing about that, and all of a sudden the fight is all hyped up, and I'm like, wow, it's hyped up like that. Then he end up getting that win, so it made it like it made it itchy for me inside. So I had to argue and bark back and get it back. And yeah, it's all behind us. Like when me and Kyle see each other, we're always cool with each other. Just that when you get in the cage, you gotta have that I'm gonna win and I'm gonna win only attitude. And I think that's what it was. We're both just competitive, and we both wanted it. And yeah, we're hugging and hitting gloves because we knew like this is it, man. There's if we are gonna fight each other again, it's not gonna be anytime soon or anything like that. So keep going, keep pushing. We're gonna go all five. We're gonna go all five. Just keep going.
Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, the brand new PXC bantamweight champion, Trevor Jones, in the house. Congratulations, young man, on your dream come true. And, more promise and dreams to come for you in your MMA career. So congratulations to Trevor Jones. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk to Rocky Alcantara here at Mighty Purple. They've got some, like, family trays and party trays. You got to be kidding me. These guys are, like, thinking of the most bizarre things, but it's great. We're going to try it after this, and then after that, we'll be talking to Professor Dan O'Connor. You don't want to miss that. Stay right here.
This is our point of view. If there's a better way, take it. If there's a mold, break it. If there's a trail, blaze it. If you see the future, shape it. If there's an icon, remake it. If there's a perception, escape it. If there's a road, race it. If there's a shortcut, never, ever take it. If it can save lives, embrace it. And if there's a dream to be chased, chase it. This is what we make. And this is how we make it.
All right, we are here at Mighty Purple once again with the owner, Rocky Alcantara. Thanks for hosting us once again for Sports Speak. And you know what? It's that season. It's the holiday season, and ladies and gentlemen, these guys are going to hook you up. Rocky, what do we have for us tonight?
Well, thanks again for having us here, for coming in again, GSPN, and all the viewers out there. Tonight I prepared our newly introduced acai party tray. Perfect for the office gatherings, the small intimate meetings, get-togethers, maybe the wine down with your girlfriends or whatever. I mean, it's perfect for 8 to 10 people, depending on who's at the table.
So, Rocky, tell us about the idea of how these platters came about.
Well, we wanted to reach out to a more intimate crowd, something that people can have on their table, a nice spread, so people can enjoy, not necessarily individually, but together. But the idea actually came from my wife. She actually looked into different designs and stuff of it. She researched a little bit of it and said, hey, you know what, we can do it. We have a good customer base that comes in here every day, and I like to thank each and every one of them that continue to support us, small business owners down here. The idea came, she brought it to my attention, and I said, let's run with it and let's see how it goes. And so far, we've had it maybe going over about a month now.
Yeah, leave it to the wives to always come up with great ideas. So what's the feedback so far with these trays?
So I've actually been getting a lot of really good feedback. There a lot of, for example, one party one of my friends brought to their family get together, and this is like the Manomkos and everybody, right? So they just kept asking, "Boy, what is that in that tray?" And they're starting trying to balutin it and everything. So I was like, well, that's good to see that even the people that don't even know anything about acai actually are seeing it and trying it for the first time. So the feedback is good. We're probably going to move into maybe bigger sizes somewhere down the road. And just waiting for them to come through and order it for their office or for their parties at home, barbecues and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Again, Mighty Purple down here in Agana, they're not only known for their acai balls or their acai cups, but now evolutionizing themselves into the party trays. I mean, who would have thought that? And definitely a game changer, of course. And I my mind is still on the panini. I love it. I love that stuff. So holidays are around the block. You have a lot of office parties, some family parties. Come and get your acai trays. It's good enough for a big party, and you don't want to miss that. So come on down to Mighty Purple. Check it out here in Agana. Support local and support Roki and his crew down here. Coming up next after this, we are going to be talking with Professor Dan O'Connor. You don't want to miss that. Half a day, we're back here, and this time we are with Professor Dan O'Connor, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Dan, thanks for joining us. You are known as probably the first person to bring the sport and the art of Jiu-Jitsu to Guam. That's back in the early 90s. Tell us a little bit about that history and how it went about in some person's garage.
Well, I got introduced to Jiu-Jitsu from my instructor, Cesar Gracie. Back in Northern California. I started training with him while I was attending college. And when I came back, my friend Cesar Witt was very interested. So I started teaching him some jiu-jitsu, whatever I knew. And sure enough, he took to it. And, every time I came back, it seemed like more and more people started training out of his garage. And there's some really notable people like Roman De La Cruz was there. My friends like Bob Wright, Josh Richardson, Josh Gray. Josh Gray just passed away about a month ago, so for the family of Josh Gray, my deepest condolences. But it really grew a lot, so I really have to give a lot of credit to Cesar Witt. Cesar really wanted to teach, and his garage just kept growing, and we expanded. We actually hooked up with Joey Calvo. He had a group in his garage, guys. Of course, Big John Calvo, who's the father of MMA on Guam, and Leonard. Then we also hooked up with Troy Anciano and Bob Salas, who I still train with today. He's the first blue belt from Guam. I don't know if people know that, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of camps out there. We didn't hook up with the folks at Guahan Warriors with Sensei Tony Sinicolas, a good friend of mine. Of course, Gabe Baker, Louis Blanco, and of course, Big James Kwan. Like, I think Guam's like first world champion. So amazing jiu-jitsu guys, all of them.
So that was more than 20 years ago. Looking back and looking, thinking about the starting time of that, the genesis of Jiu-Jitsu on Guam in somebody's garage, and now how it's evolved into where it is today, and the popularity, how many black belts there are, the competitions that people go through, the international fame of most of our athletes. Are you surprised by that evolution?
Absolutely. I mean, it's at the time it just seemed like such a niche sport. I mean, it was just growing. The Gracies had just started the UFC, and it seemed like through every pay-per-view event that they put on with every single UFC, it just kept growing and growing with popularity. So, here on Guam, I mean, I had no idea that, the humble beginnings of us training in a garage, trying to find mats to train on. And all of a sudden, here we are, like you said, there are so many black belts, so many good jiu-jitsu practitioners out there. Guys like Mike Carbolita, who's, representing Guam in a very good way. Plenty more, obviously, but there are a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, not just here on Guam, but a lot of folks from Guam that are training stateside.
I have a question, and this is the old school, new school jiu-jitsu. What's your opinion on the old school versus new school, the basic street jiu-jitsu as compared to competition?
Well, listen, I mean, jiu-jitsu first and foremost is a martial art, right? So it's got to be for fighting. It's got to be effective in a street fight. So I think I limit myself on what I can consume through my own techniques, because sometimes if I don't see the relevance, I don't even want to learn. So I think I'm really on board with kind of the older school style, because that's the style that I've actually grown up in. But guys like Marcelo Garcia, man, I mean, he's amazing. He didn't have a great fight when he fought MMA, but his jiu-jitsu, by and far, I mean, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world ever. And I've had a chance to roll with him. Took a private lesson. He tapped me out so many times I couldn't even tell you. But I as far as old school, new school, all's relevant. The new school is more really for the sport aspect, and I think the sport is growing tremendously. A lot of tournaments out there, even at the local level. There's so many tournaments, and I appreciate the fact that I mean, it teaches people to hopefully win, teaches people to lose. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. And it really just like with all sports, I think it humbles you. And that's I think definitely same with jiu-jitsu. But I think you can't lose sight of old school when you're in a new school, and vice versa. Just because you're old school doesn't mean you shouldn't see what the new stuff that's going on out there. At the very least, you need to be able to defend against it. So yeah.
And of course, you mentioned the Gracie family. A good Guam friend of ours, Hoist Gracie, that visited us in 2015. He's coming back to Guam in March. This time, he's going to be with us to help us lead an anti-bullying campaign. Of course, that's a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Tell us about that on your background, and also how you preach that when you teach your students.
Well, you know what? I just got to thank you, Pat, for bringing Hoist back, especially part of the anti-bullying campaign. I mean, it's nice to have a celebrity like Hoist Gracie come back. I mean, especially for the jiu-jitsu community. But it's really not about Hoist or any celebrities. But what they really do is they broach, really what is a pretty dark subject when it comes to bullying. So what we're really trying to do is educate the public, whether it's the students, the teachers, the parents. I mean, the entire island community needs to kind of come together and just say it's not okay, And we have to teach people to stand up to these bullies. Jiu-jitsu is great. I think it's a lot of great self-defense techniques to stand up to the physical type of bullying. But there's more than that out there. There's cyberbullying now, and I mean, I'm sure it's all evolving as we get more and more new technologies out there. But essentially, we have to come together and just stand up to these bullies and say, it's not okay. And if you see somebody, if you see the warning signs, that's what really you have to see, is that we see the warning signs in the victims, and then speak up. If you have the strength to speak up for yourself, you should have the strength to speak up for other people. And through jiu-jitsu, every time I'm out there, every time I teach kids, I always bring up bullying. And for them to use the techniques to help others, stand up not just for themselves, but to stand up for others as well.
Yeah, we definitely are looking forward to that program. Stay tuned to that coming in March, where we're developing a good consensus panel that will be going out to different schools, and also I've already got a commitment from DYA that we will be able to go into their doors and talk to those young people in DYA as well. And thanks for taking part in that. A lot of people again, going back to the myth and the mystique of Dan O'Connor. You know, you're a very private person, and it's evident by you know how quiet you are. But you know, you tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, you grew up in Guam. You went to school here. You went to high school here, and what's cool about it is you're a pilot for United. Tell us about your passion for that and how that came about.
Yeah, so you know, when I was a kid, you know, going to school at JFK, you know, I had met a pilot, a military pilot that was from Guam, and you know, they'd opened themselves up for questions, and I told them, hey, I want to be a pilot. And they looked at me, and they're kind of looking at each other like, I'm like, what? Well, what's the problem? And they basically turned to me and said, son, you're never going to fly. And I always share that story, you know, because, you know, obviously here I am. I'm a professional pilot for United Airlines based here on Guam. So, you know, long are those days gone, or like when I was in Civil Air Patrol, we were washing airplanes at NAS. For those of you who remember, there was a club, a flying club, and we used to wash airplanes so we could get flight time, so we can do search and rescue missions or mock search and rescue missions by using their airplanes. And you know, I had to, you know, leave island to get an education, obviously for the flying and everything else too. But there's a handful of us local pilots that are still flying, whether here or somewhere stateside. There's a few of us. I'm very excited to do something I'm extremely passionate about. You know, I really love flying. I really love my job. The company's great. You know, the folks that are based here. The Guam operation itself is by far the best operation I've ever seen in the entire world. You know, I mean, whether it's the ground agents to the ramp to, of course, our flight attendants and our pilots, just bar none. I mean, it's some of the most professional people I've ever met and worked with.
Awesome. So Dan O'Connor, you've been practicing jiu-jitsu for over 20 years. Tell us whether you're still practicing up to now. And let's say if somebody like myself or, you know, a youngster wants to be under your tutelage, how can we go about finding you? Where do we find you? Do you still practice? And how does your teaching schedule go about?
Well, usually I just train on my own with the group of friends. We train at Spike 22. If you are looking for me, you can look for me at Spike 22. You can contact Melker Menubusen. I'm sure he can find a way to find me.
Facebook.
I don't.
No, Melker.
Oh, yeah, Melker Facebook. Not me too much. You know, I have an account though. So.
All right, awesome, Dan. Thanks for stepping out of your comfort zone and coming out and speaking with us here at GSPN. A lot of people ask, who's Dan O'Connor and what's the story behind Dan? So I appreciate you coming out and giving us the background and the genesis, so to speak, of Jiu-Jitsu on Guam. And it's just a fascinating story of how that martial art and the sport has evolved, especially on Guam. I mean, I think there was a documentary saying that per capita there's more jiu-jitsu practitioners on Guam than anywhere else, but they say that about the usage of spam as well. So I don't know if there's the correlation of that. But thanks a lot for coming in, and you know, more on the anti-bullying campaign with Hoyce Gracie and probably some other big name celebrities that will be coming out to Guam for that. It's an exciting time. Dan will be a part of that, as well as a lot of our black belts on Guam. So we'd like to thank Dan for coming out, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you have a very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday season. On behalf of everyone at GSPN, I'm Patrick Lujan. Good night.